this is where we are at. Let me check the balance of all the audio things. Oh god, that's loud. That was very aggressive. That was loud and aggressive. And now, of course, naturally, when I'm trying to talk to check the audio, music is basically off, which is great. We love that. It helps us quite a bit. Do you think this is fine? Do you think this is, should I turn it down at all? What do you think? What do you guys think? This is a question for the group. I don't know. I'm honestly kind of waiting for the beat to drop to see if that changes any opinion I have about it. Is this as beat droppy as it gets? I think that's as beat droppy as it gets. If this is as beat droppy as it gets, then I think we should be good. I think everything should be alright. We should be 10, like 10, 10. Yeah, we're fine. I think this is good audio. Good audio levels. As you can tell though, Squadron, I am not in the place that I usually would be. Because we moved. And we're in my brother's place. Which, luckily, you only kind of have to deal with the Lobos logo in the back. We got most of it out for you guys. I did it for you. Salutations, friends. My name is Brianna Sukiyama Bond, otherwise known as No Ordinary Scholar, and quarterly wrap-up. If you missed the last one, don't worry. It's on the other channel. I'll eventually get around to downloading all the videos off of that channel and putting them onto this one, because this is probably the permanent home of my book streams, but we'll work on getting those there and bringing them here. But it's currently over there. You can go and watch it so you can be in the know about what's going on in terms of what I thought last quarter and the feelings I had towards the books I read last quarter. But this isn't that anymore. We are going to start, basically what we're going to be doing here is, I don't read enough books a month to feel like it's justified to do a whole video wrapping up my reading of the month. I generally read 1 to 2 books a month, and you can just watch those 2 streams to know how I felt about my month's worth of reading. But we want to go ahead and talk about the whole quarter to see how I'm feeling about the books I read, give you some notes on some of the books that I maybe didn't do a stream about. That'll generally be non-fiction books, and tell you what's going on, and I'll often just give you an idea of what books to expect and what books to you might end up seeing at my end of the year top 10 favorite books of the year. Last year I didn't do a top 10 books that I hated, and I think I've given those books enough of my time, so I think we're probably gonna do the same this year of just no top 10 books that I hated, but we'll definitely do top 10 books that I loved. And yeah, that'll be at the end of the year, and I probably let you know, and I'll let you know in every quarter's video what books are doing it for me. But let's hop into it, starting with A Whole New World by Liz Braswell. If I was more prepared for these streams, I would have a whole setup so it can show you the book covers or something. I'm gonna work on that, but we just got through a massive move, so I didn't have it in me. But book number 1, okay, A Whole New World by Liz Braswell. Let me read you the description off of my LG wing. LG, please God, make a second version of this phone, or someone make a second edition of this phone, because I love it so much. A Whole New World. When Jafar steals the genie's lamp, he uses his first 2 wishes to become Sultan and the most powerful sorcerer in the world. Agrabah lives in fear, waiting for his 3rd and final wish. To stop the power-mad ruler, Aladdin and the deposed Princess Jasmine must unite the people of Agrabah in rebellion, but soon their fight for freedom threatens to tear the kingdom apart in a costly civil war. What happens next? A street rat becomes a leader, a princess becomes a revolutionary, and readers will never look at the story of Aladdin in the same way again. I rated this book, I believe, 4 stars. I thought it was really interesting to see the differences that they decided to go with. It got surprisingly gory. Like, there was a whole scene about how Jafar was deconstructing and dissecting the carpet, and that was horrific. And I know people complained that if you know Aladdin line for line, the beginning of the book until you get to the point where the change happens is basically line for line Aladdin, which I don't, I get that because it's supposed to be the exact same story, the exact same world, the exact same scenes, and then one thing happens, and then this is what happens when you like branch off into that storyline, into that multiverse, into that universe. So I get that. I also don't know. There's not a single Disney movie that I know line for line, so I don't think if I were to continue reading the books in the series, I would ever have an issue with that. But I think for me, it just I felt like there was more focus on how you would bring Aladdin and Jasmine together in this world versus actually versus a lot of the conflict and a lot of the actual war aspects of it. Is there a nugget here? Oh, I have 2 cats here. There's 2 cats here. Oh my god, that's so cute. And there's a third in the window that you can kind of see his butt. We're just missing Chestnut. But yeah, I felt like the actual conflict in the war, no one's dying, it's fine, were kind of undercut. I also thought that the way that they kind of wrote out Iago was kind of lame. But other than that, I thought the book was pretty solid, and I do want to read some of the other ones in the series. Not particularly some of the ones that may not have been written by this author, just to see some other writing styles, see if there's something that'll blow me away, knock me off my feet. The Go the Distance book cover for the series, for the Hercules one, looks phenomenal. Whether I like it or the book or not, I want the book hardcover so I can display it in my office whenever we get settled. But that was that book. Next was Doctor Who Pest Control by Peter Angelides, read by David Tennant. The TARDIS is lost in battle on a distant planet. When the Doctor sets off in pursuit, Donna is left behind and finds herself accepting a commission in the Pioneer Corps. Something is transforming soldiers into monstrous beetles, and she could be the next victim. Meanwhile, the Doctor steals a motorbike and stages a jailbreak. Well, how hard can it be to find the TARDIS, rescue Donna, and negotiate a peace? But that's before the arrival of a brutal and remorseless mechanical exterminator, bent on wiping out the insects. It may be that nothing can stop it, because this robot solution for the infestation is very simple. Kill everything. Featuring the Doctor and Donna as played by David Tennant and Catherine Tate in the hit series from BBC Television. This story has been written specially for audio and is read by David Tennant. So I rated that book. There's more of his, but I rated that book 5 stars because I am a Doctor Who fan. Otherwise, it was pretty much just reading it was just an audio version of an episode of Doctor Who, and it wasn't revolutionary in concept and idea, but it was a great story to read. Love David Tennant. I miss David Tennant so much. And there was one thing that did bother me. I didn't mark off for it, but there was one thing that did bother me of they're saying that they use something to heal the soldiers, and that's how the bad guy's turning them into bugs, but it doesn't really give an explanation of how a soldier can have a completely a foot that was an entire leg that was crushed by the robot thing. It just stepped on their leg and just crushed the whole thing, and 10 minutes later they can just walk out, they're fine. That didn't fully answer my question. Implanting them with whatever is going to turn them into bugs, sure, you can do that, but how are you fixing these people this way and this quickly? Didn't really answer that question. That's fine. We gloss over it. Next, The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. This was the prequel to the Chronicles of Narnia series. Diggory and Polly discover a secret passage that links their houses and are tricked into vanishing out of this world and into the world of Charn, where they wake up the evil Queen Jadis. There, they witness the creation of the land of Narnia as it is sung into being by the great lion Aslan. I'm not gonna lie, as a child, like I read this book as a child because we had growing up the like massive set. It was like a one book, but it was a multi-pack of all the Chronicles of Narnia book. All the Chronicles of Narnia's books. So I had that and I read it and I thought in my head the first book was always this prequel book was always my favorite book of the Chronicles of Narnia series. After reading it, which I did I read it in Spanish, but after reading it just felt not very underwhelming. It felt very underwhelming, and it's like 90% sure because it's just setting up the rest. Everything is just setting up Narnia. Everything is just setting up the first Chronicles of Narnia books, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Everything's setting that up. So it felt like as soon as we got to Narnia, the actual plot that we were having of we accidentally released this witch and now she's in our world and she's destroying our world and we have to fight her and find a way to get rid of her. It comes to a screeching halt when they get to Narnia because you have to like figure out a way to like, where did this lamppost come from? Why are some of the animals speaking and other ones don't? And like it just all became exposition at that point and it's just boring. It was boring. I was just not a fan of it, which was really sad because in my head, the entire book took place in the modern world, in the like real world that Diggory and Polly come from, and like they're fighting the witch there and stuff like that. But there's like maybe 2 or 3 pages of that, which is sad. It was very unfortunate. I was very disappointed. Also, reading in Spanish was hard because it was hard. Next, Critical Failures number 4, The Phantom Pinnace by Robert Bevan. The adventure continues. Tim and the C&C gang face their most difficult challenges yet. Horses die, eyeballs are eaten, people are urinated on, a god is born. I rated this book 3 stars. I felt like of the books that I've read from the series, it felt like the one that, of more than anything else, it was just it was just gag jokes and stuff like that. It was a lot of bodily fluid humor that just didn't feel in place. Anytime we had a chapter with Catherine, it felt like an actual waste of my time. Like nothing she did ever actually forwarded the plot. It was just, let's see what Catherine's up to, all the hijinks, and then we get back and actually talk about things that are forwarding the plot, which really aren't forwarding the plot. My biggest issue with the book had been that, you know, at this point, dungeon master in the game master, he is in the game and they're trying to get to him so that way they can force him somehow to let them all leave. And we realize there's this massive lore and legend in the world of this guy and the Phantom Pinnace, and but you have to go to this island to see the scrolls and use those scrolls to release him. And you know, Mordred, who is the game master, he did all of that off camera by himself. Like, our gang of heroes never even left to go to the island. The major conflict came to them as opposed to they're like over there trying to stop Mordred and fight him and keep him from getting the things, which it makes sense because Mordred created the world, so he naturally would know how to get there the quickest and stuff like that. But it just felt like we didn't get to see the actual conflict and see them participate in the conflict until after Mordred decided to come to them, which I just felt like there was a major wasted opportunity. I will say there was this aspect of it where you have multiple Mordreds, which I did see coming, but I did find it very interesting. Yeah. There you go. Next up, How to Be a Boss: A Guide to Conquering Life by Lily Singh. From actress, comedian, and YouTube sensation Lily Singh, aka Superwoman, comes the definitive guide to being a boss, a person who exudes confidence, reaches goals, gets hurt efficiently, and smiles genuinely because they fought through it all and made it out the other side. Told in her hilarious, bold voice that's inspired over 9 million fans and using stories from her own life to illustrate her message, Lily proves that there are no shortcuts to success. Warning, this book does not include hopeful thoughts, lucky charms, and cute quotes. That's because success, happiness, and everything else you want in life needs to be fought for, not wished for. In Lily's world, there are no escalators, only stairs. Get ready to climb. I rated this book 1 star. I was not a fan. I was not a fan. This book read like a stream of consciousness as opposed to like really defined concepts and ideas that we're expanding on as we get through a chapter. It just felt like a stream of consciousness, which made it really, really hard to sit through. I was listening to it on audio, and it felt like it went on forever. I would say get on ebook, but to my understanding, the book does kind of have very visual aspects to it that are probably best for print. So I would, if you're going to get it as a fan of Lily Singh, probably get it in print. The other thing there were just several like concepts and stuff that I really could not support. There were a lot of concepts in it that I felt like I really could not support in the book. Most of the rest of it was relatively generic stuff that I thought could be found in other sources that did not have information that I really couldn't support. And there were a couple parts that also put me off the general. There was a section of general millennials don't do anything that is not only statistically inaccurate, but also like if you've seen some of my other videos, I think it was like 19 and Proud was the video. I find it very obnoxious and a waste of time to hate on the generation for no fucking reason, just to make yourself feel superior is purely the only reason to do it. But whatever. Moving on. Below the Surface by Tim Schumacher. Something is wrong with Cooper. He's plagued by a fear he doesn't understand and can't control. Cooper just wants to escape, and a summer vacation aboard the restored cabin cruiser, The Getaway, with his best friends Gordy, Hero, and Lunk seems like the perfect way to do it. 2 weeks of fun with no mysteries or life and death danger. That's the plan. But their plans are shattered the very first night when they witness a murder. Or did they? Despite their intentions of leaving the investigation to the police, narrow misses and creepy encounters lure them in. Is there really a body floating in the underwater currents of the lake? The closer they get to the truth, the deeper into danger they get. Too late, they see the trap. Now each of them must face their own buried fears, just below the surface. I rated this book 3 stars, and the only reason I didn't rate it 1 star is because the end of the book is badass. There's like shit with like a boat in the storm. It's great. The ending of the book is great. Otherwise, I think the boys are just way too mean-spirited with Hero, who genuinely does not feel safe to the point that it's not even within character for one of them who, like, there's a point where they're all making fun of her for wanting to call the police after an obvious domestic abuse situation, and the boy whose mother was domestically abused, he is making the most fun of her, which doesn't make fucking sense. And it had to be brought to his recollection that he had an abusive father. Ugh, that was very frustrating. I thought they were way too mean-spirited with a friend of theirs that didn't feel safe. I don't understand why these boys were, like, for a week left to sleep on this boat that was like a mile or some odd distance away from all of the other adults present for this group. Why are these boys on this boat alone, especially after like a lot of these concerns have been brought up? one of the fucking women can go sleep on the boat with them to make sure they're okay. The lack of supervision is unprecedented in this book. I also, the way they go about trying to keep this whole thing a mystery and keep the police from looking into it and stuff like that, the way they go about trying to extend the length of the story is just so unrealistic to me. I thought it was ridiculous, and it was banging on the idea that there is no such thing as premeditated murder, which was also stupid. I've seen the episode of Monk that is basically this story, and the episode of Monk did it way better. So I was just not able to buy into this. I was not able to buy it. They were asking way too much of me in terms of suspension of disbelief. Look at all of these cats. They're cute. But they were asking way too much of me in terms of suspension of disbelief. But the ending of that book was badass. It was great. Last two, The Hilarious World of Depression by John Moe. For years, John Moe, critically acclaimed public radio personality and host of the Hilarious World of Depression podcast, struggled with depression. It plagued his family and claimed the life of his brother in 2007. As Moe came to terms with his own illness, he began to see similar patterns of behavior and coping mechanisms surfacing in conversations with others, including high-profile comedians who'd struggled with the disease. Moe saw that there was tremendous comfort and community in open dialogue about these shared experiences, and that humor had a unique power. Thus was born the podcast, The Hilarious World of Depression. Inspired by the immediate success of the podcast, Moe has written a remarkable investigation of the disease, part memoir of his own journey, part treasure trove of laugh-out-loud stories and insights drawn from years of interviews and some of the most brilliant minds facing similar challenges. Throughout the course of this powerful narrative, depression's universal themes come to light among them. Struggles with identity, lack of understanding of the symptoms, the challenges of work life, self-medicating, the fallout of the disease in the lives of our loved ones, the tragedy of suicide, and the hereditary aspects of the disease. The Hilarious World of Depression illuminates depression in an entirely fresh and inspiring way. I rated the book 5 stars. Overall, loved it. Will note there is like a chapter where he's talking about like working at early Amazon, and he very much fixates on several descriptions of the Germans that worked there, and as well as oi, don't do that, come here, be the fourth cat in the bed. No, he also fixates on this like bit about how the original creator of the gift card or e-gift card site that they're refurbishing for Amazon, the original creator and artist that was credited on all of the cards was named Osama, and everyone's like, but Osama bin Laden, so you shouldn't use the word Osama. And it read very much like it was from 2004. Hi, 4 cats on the bed. It read like it was from 2004, and I was very shocked to find out that this book came out in 2020. But other than that, I thought the book was great. Last but definitely not least, the only book that is like at all gonna have a chance at being on my top 10 books of the year, and potentially, honestly, it was great. It could be the number 1 book I have is Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron. Heir to 2 lines of powerful witch doctors, Ara yearns for magic of her own, yet she fails at bone magic, fails to call upon her ancestors, and fails to live up to her family's legacy. Under the disapproving eye of her mother, the kingdom's most powerful priestess and seer, she fears she may never be good enough. But when the kingdom's children begin to disappear, Ara is desperate enough to turn to a forbidden, dangerous ritual. If she has no magic of her own, she'll have to buy it by trading away years of her own life. Ara's borrowed power reveals a nightmarish betrayal and on its heels, a rising tide of darkness that threatens to consume her and all those she loves. She must race to unravel a twisted and deadly scheme before the fight costs more than she can afford. I loved this book a lot. Like, absolutely. I could go on about I thought the writing was amazing. I thought the pacing was great. The only thing that I really thought was iffy was 2 things. One, the way she describes, the author kind of just immediately gets into calling the parents by the first name without really like bridging the gap of understanding, like letting me know that these are her parents. So it took me like a couple chapters to realize that this person by this first name was her mother or her father, stuff like that. So that was a little that threw me off a little bit. And I feel like we really could have used more in terms of the conflict between Ara and her sister. The like main fight at the end, it goes by in like a paragraph, and I feel like it definitely should have had more to it than that. But otherwise, I'm very excited to get to the next book of the series. Hopefully I'll be able to buy it by the end of the year, but I'm very excited for the next book in the series. And that's it. That's all the books that I read this quarter. It was a rough reading quarter for me. I really only liked those 2 books. So hopefully next one is going to be better. It's already shaping up to be a better quarter with the Song of the Forever Rains. I am, I'm enjoying it. It's so far not like nearly as good as Kingdom of Souls, but it's alright. So we'll read this book and see what else we get into. In case you didn't hear in my last update video, which is now on my vlog channel, I did change my reading goal for the year to 1 book, which I already completed, because there are other like mediums that I want to talk with you guys about, as well as other mediums that I want to like learn from. I felt very limited to what mediums I could go to learn about different things, about writing, music, stuff like that. And so to give myself the freedom to do that again, we reduced my reading goal down to 1 book, and I'm just gonna have these videos as well as my chats that I do on Twitch, do those more often on anything else. But that's all I have to say here. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, valedictions, friends.